Welcome to the Graveyard Shift. Working at a graveyard is arguably considered one of the most terrifying jobs you can have, but just a night guarding at Whispering Winds Cemetery surpasses any other cemetery in horror. Being a night security guard here will turn into a nightmare that you will never forget. Now, in this game, we play as a character named Gary, who is starting his new job at the Whispering Winds Cemetery for his first shift guarding the place from 5 p.m. till 8 a.m. the next day. At first, everything seems calm, but shortly after, things start to get more and more eerie. Over time, this cemetery becomes a living hell for Gary. Part of his job is to watch surveillance cameras. With this, Gary will notice strange things, initially thinking they're only visible on the camera feed. However, as he examines around the graves, he realizes he must endure the most terrifying night of his life. Once we arrive for our first shift, we meet our boss. He tells us during our first few nights we might not feel comfortable in this place, and we may be a little scared, but we will get used to it soon enough. Also explaining how this cemetery is the most peaceful place at night, and we will find enjoyment in the silence of this place. Continuing with telling us our duties of being vigilant and making sure no one enters. And he also tells us how there are many famous people buried here, so these grounds are important. Our next task is to speak with Johnny to get more details. Johnny tells us that guarding this cemetery isn't easy. He then explains there are CCTV cameras all over due to the burial of all the famous individuals. We will have to regularly check these cameras and never let anyone in. During our first night, this cemetery has 3 new dead guests that are being stored here because of time restraints. These 3 bodies are from a music band called Ghost Rock Group. Their funeral is tomorrow, so we must be very attentive on the job. We then get told some very interesting information. The previous night shift guard died of a heart attack, and they found his body at the church door all blue with a terrified look on his face. So hopefully we don't fall victim to this fate. Now, as we get started with our job, we notice a leak in one of the pipes on the CCTV cameras. When finding the pipe valve, we see writing that says, "Have you ever heard the cries of a demon?" After we turn the water off and turn around, we see a group of ghosts staring back at us, although they quickly vanish. As you can see, things are already starting to feel off. Once we make it back to the security room, we notice on the CCTV that one of the bodies mysteriously fell off the bed. After we fix it, while walking back, we find a human skull laying on the ground, meaning something is starting to mess with us. Next, we find a note that was left by the previous security guard. This note explains how he would often see a crying nun, although he would never approach her. In order to make her stop, all we have to do is whisper Jesus Christ 20 times, which is a bit odd, but okay. After reading this note, we take a nap and start dreaming. We wake up in a massive field filled with stone crosses. We see a light which leads us to fall into a grave, and we wake up back in the security room. Now, because of this, you could argue that the rest of the game is just a dream, but I'll let you make that decision. After a bunch of haunting events like this, we find another note inside the church. This note tells us how a demon has been buried here at the cemetery, tormenting all of the other souls here. We are told we must destroy this demon within the cemetery and save the rest of the harmed souls. Otherwise, a harsh death awaits us. A pair of white footprints leads us to a mausoleum. This then leads us underground to long, eerie halls with open coffins scattered around. We finally find a locked door, where behind it is a chained up hanging coffin. When searching for the key to this door, we find another note that explains who this demon is. Elias, who has spent 60 years of his life trying to meet the devil, until one day he was possessed by this devil and begun to torment and slaughter people, eventually leading him to get killed by the cops. His body was laid to rest in this protected tomb underground. This is a demon that has been tormenting the rest of the souls at the cemetery, the ones that gave us the first note. Once we enter the room with the coffin, we see it's littered with lit candles, crosses, and Bible verses all over the place. Using a lighter, we then burn the body, ultimately stopping the demon, at least so we thought. We then make our way back to the security room and look through the CCTV cameras. The demon attempts to stop us one last time as it unleashes hell on everything in the graveyard. Through the cameras, we see multiple ghosts, figures, and writing that says "See you in hell" on the floor. Because of this, we try to escape, but end up getting knocked out by the demon. When we wake up, it looks as if we are dead. We walk around and can look up through many different graves, but instead we leave to see all of the tormented souls from the cemetery. We then wake up again and play a tape we find in the security room that tells us the truth about what has really been going on. This tape explains our events of the night, how the spirit asks us to destroy the demon's body, although everything we saw, including the spirits, were all just part of the demon's plan. It was the demon that put the note lying to us about the souls being tortured. This was never never true. He just manipulated us into letting him free. By burning the body, we have freed the demon to leave the cemetery and cause havoc on the open world. When we leave the graveyard and ultimately quit, while driving home, we see the demon in the middle of the road and it causes us to crash. After waking up from the wreck and getting out, we can see on the back of the car the same writing as before. Have you ever heard the cries of a demon? Further proving that he has been in control this whole time. The demon grabs us and ultimately takes our life. So what did you guys think of the Graveyard Shift? Did you enjoy it? Although it does have its flaws, I thought it was a pretty decent game and it would be cool to see where the story goes next. Let me know how you feel in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifyT. Thanks for watching.